All right, we're finally back with a new video. So you've probably been wondering what in the hell we've been up to. So over the last few months, we've been busy as ever. So one of the main things we've been doing is that my brother Paul, who's the cameraman, his homestead needed a lot more work than what mine has been. So he's kind of just getting started with a lot of the cleanup and everything. So there was a boatload of work to be done over there. Mostly this summer, it's been a lot of cutting trees down, clearing brush, wood chipping, and kind of some mundane stuff that we showed a lot of videos on already. So we weren't going to reshoot videos on kind of the same old, but there was just an overwhelming amount of work to be done there in just the time that it took. So a lot of the weekends from this summer were dedicated to doing the work over there. So that's kind of where we've been at. And then in the fall here, we're just going to walk through, show you some of the other stuff we've been working on, and kind of get you guys caught up. So we're just going to walk down. We're going to walk and talk on what we have here. So here, the neighbor was doing a little bit of work, and he had cut down some pine trees. So he said, "Hey Eric, you think you can cut these up for me? Keep some for yourself, charge me, bill me, whatever." So he brought over his trailer, offloaded a load of logs. Just gonna be a little bit of a winter project for cutting this into some lumber for him. These were some of the trees at Paul's place that we were able to cut down that we thought, well, instead of cutting up for firewood and throwing it for the campfire, maybe we can saw something out of some of these trees. So the one in the middle there might be a little bit too small, but we brought it over anyways. One of the other things, a few weeks back, I went to an auction, and it was a trucking company. They had multiple businesses going on out of the same facility, and there was a good amount of people there, but some of the stuff that I thought was valuable, other people didn't. So this tote right here is a good example. So for this winter, what I'm going to do with it is put my firewood ends in it. So we get 8 foot firewood, which is actually 100-inch in general. So we end up with little pieces left over after we cut it. So I'm going to take the bladder out of the inside and throw all my little pieces of firewood in here, which we've shown before. Well, if we roll around and show on the side here, we're going to see the tag here. So this had AW32 hydraulic fluid in it. So I bought this whole tank for $15, which was a pretty good deal. Locally, I can find them for 40 to 50 bucks. So I bought this one for 15, and the guy was nice enough to leave about 9 gallons worth of hydraulic fluid in it for me. And this is the same stuff that I run in like the log splitter and everything. So all I had to do was pick it up with the tractor, tip it forward, and drain out the hydraulic fluid. So at the local Menards, that's about 10, 11 bucks a gallon. So I had almost 90 bucks worth of hydraulic fluid in here, and I get the tank on top of it. So I thought that was a pretty sweet deal. The other thing that I did, they were selling, since it was a trucking company, they were selling semi-trucks or semi-trailers that were, I don't think they were really roadworthy anymore, so the guy was using them for storage. So one of the things that he had in one of the trailers was the whole thing front to back was full of cardboard. And it was, since it was so full, I really couldn't see all the way in the front. So I didn't realize that this whole, all these pallets here was actually wax coated cardboard. So it's got the company name on the other side. So this is actually wax coated cardboard, which I wasn't too stoked about at first, but I'm gonna end up putting this down on some of the trails. So I'm not really concerned about it degrading right away, you know, where I would put like in the orchard. So this is gonna go on some of the trails and the mulch over the top. So I'll still be able to use this, and it's not gonna go to waste. So that was only 6 of the pallets, and we have more down to show you. Here are some of the other logs that we cut down at Paul's place. These were cut down a couple years ago, and what we didn't realize at the time, and you might be able to see in here, is that there's some type of beetle that gets in here, and it was maybe a couple weeks after we cut them down. You could actually stand next to the pile and you're listening, you're like, what in the hell is that noise? You could hear these little beetles going in there and crunching away. So we didn't realize that the logs had to be picked out of place like almost immediately, and they sat for a little bit, and I was finally able to get them trucked over here and moved it into place. So I think this obviously can't be used for structural material, but I think what I'm going to do is cut them up more for like landscape timbers and then do the charring method. So it's going to be more of a decorative piece, but I still think we'll be able to utilize that to be something cool to come from it. Walking along here, I did buy a generator a couple years ago and then never do anything with it. So we're going to shoot that in another video. I did find out the propane tank that I had bought last year or the year before. It has a big giant dent on the side, which apparently makes them like non-fillable. So in case you're out there looking for a propane tank that you want to buy because you want to get out of the lease fees, make sure you know what you're looking at, and that you're actually able to get it filled, that there's any defects or anything that you know what the regulations are. So this is going to be a project in the future that I think what we're actually going to do is cut the top off of it and repaint it and make it a planter or something out of it, just to utilize it. Obviously, I think if we take the valves off, you know, we could scrap it out, cut it up, something like that. But, you know, we got other farm junk around here that we're kind of repurposing, so we'll make it kind of fit the motif. So underneath here is all the rest of the trailer load of cardboard. There is some in the pole building too. So underneath here, tarped up, is actually clean cardboard. And as you've seen in the previous videos, what we like to do around our mulch, around our orchard, and any other areas where we're going to plant, we kind of prep the ground a little bit with some of the molasses and compost and things like that. And then we wet down the cardboard and then put our mulch on top of that. So, I mean, when I say big cardboard, last year we were dealing with small little boxes from the grocery store. This stuff, I mean, it's just really nice, large boxes. I mean, it is going to be, it's a dream for what we're doing. So I really lucked out with several good pallets of clean cardboard. And lastly here, on one of my other scores from this auction, I bought this giant roll of paper. So I did forget to mention, so with this cardboard, I paid $200 for the entire load of cardboard, front to back. Like I said, I couldn't even climb in there. They were selling the trailer's contents with the trailer, and I asked the auctioneer, I said, hey, will you sell that separately? And at these auctions, guys, don't be afraid, you know, to ask questions like that. There was another lady, they were selling pallets full of stuff, and she asked the guy, hey, will you do choice? Which in auction terms, choice means the high bid picks any single item off of the pallet or off the table or however they have it sectioned off. So all I did was, before they started bidding, unlike the other trailers, I said, hey, will you sell content separate? And then he started the bid, 200 bucks. I was the only guy that wanted it, because who the hell wants to buy a whole trailer load full of cardboard? And I'm the only one dumb enough to do it. So I got the whole trailer load of cardboard. On the very front of the trailer was a stack of sheets of paper. It wasn't like regular like printer paper. What it was more of like a newsprint paper. And I lucked out because there is a local business that uses this exact paper for packaging material, because they run an online business, a very successful one. And they use this paper to wrap up their products to put in the box so, you know, it doesn't shake around. So I told them, I said, hey, I got a sweet deal for you. We figured it out. I mean, they would have paid almost $800 for that quantity of paper. So I cut them a sweetheart deal for the 200 bucks that I paid. And I was able to offload that just down the auction, and their location was just down the road. So I cut them a deal, and I got my 200 bucks back. So all this cardboard is really for free. And which brings us back to our paper. So I got this giant roll of paper, which I did not realize how much this paper can weigh. So it's pretty thick paper. And they had, the nice thing with this auction, you know, a lot of these auctioneers and places that have these large items, they'll load it on your trailer for you, which is nice enough. This roll is 4 feet high, and before I started cutting all this stuff off, it was about the width of the pallet. And when I brought it home, I tried picking it up with the tractor that I have, which we videoed before too. It's a 45 horse Branson tractor. The tractor pretty much laughed at me trying to get this off the trailer, and I was scratching my head trying to figure out what in the heck I was going to do. And what I had to do was basically turn the trailer and take the forks and knock the pallet. It was standing vertically. I had to knock the pallet off of the trailer, and it was so heavy, even on its side, rolled all the way back on the pallet forks, I was unable to pick it up. So what I did was take my skill saw and run it down the top and roll it open to get these big giant sheets of paper flayed out. And then I can take these and I can use that as my base layer, wet it down, put some cardboard, then my mulch, and this really covers a lot of square footage. So I paid $5 for this whole roll because nobody else wanted any paper like this. I mean, I don't even know what they were using it for. So keep an eye on them auctions. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with auctions. There are a lot of good deals to be had, but some days you go there and you feel like you just wasted your whole day. There was nothing to be bought and you could have been doing a million other things productive. And then there's other days you go here and find items like this, and then you feel like you just cleaned up. So keep that in mind, you know, when you're going out to auctions. So we're going to walk around on the other side of the house and show you some of the other things we've been working on. All right, one of the projects we had was putting up something for our comm system. So in light of what was going on with the hurricane, you know, comms were kind of talked about a little bit more and kind of top of mind. You know, we had our little GMRS radios, and that was all well and fine, but you're kind of limited on range. So what we ended up doing with the cleanup over at Paul's place, we found this sweet pole laying kind of down in the weeds. So I had the walk behind brush cutter going, and I dang near ran this thing over. So we found this 22-foot long pole sitting over in the weeds because the previous owner had a ham radio and stuff like that. So we thought, what a perfect opportunity to set up a larger antenna at my place. So what we did was I got a sono tube. I understand this pole is a little off center. We had it perfectly. I dropped the plumb bob from the soffit and everything. We had it lined up perfect. And in reality, that would be set center, but as we were doing it, trying to put the pole up, the action of lifting up a 22-foot pole and trying to set it in place by hand by just tilting it up, it kind of got a little wompy as we were doing that in the concrete, and it is what it is. So it's pretty close. So what we have set up here is a pole that we figured if we're going to set up a new antenna for our GMRS radio, we were going to mess around trying out Meshtastic. We were going to set up a system to extend the range of the Wi-Fi out onto the property for multiple reasons. And the camera system I had set up was also kind of out of date. It was using old like RCA style, like twist connectors like that. Cameras are failing, they were low quality. So we thought, well, why don't we upgrade multiple systems and we'll use the one pole to knock out kind of two birds with one stone type of deal. So we're going to show up what we got going on. So at the very top is our antenna. It covers multiple bands. That's at the very top. Below that, what extends out, you know, from to the side is for the Wi-Fi on the big dome thing. All it is a camera. It looks cool just because it can turn, but it's nothing really spectacular. Then up there on the side somewhere is another antenna for our Meshtastic setup. We're still kind of playing with that, seeing what that can do, what the range is. So that was another multiple weekend project. To set up a system like this, I actually need to drive the forklift from my work, set up one of them IBC totes without the bladder inside. We use that as a kind of a homemade man lift. Parked it in here, picked it up to get all this stuff set up. And then all we did was run the cables through. We used a simple box like this, run a hole through the house, and everything runs through. This is an in-use cover that you would have like for your outlets. But all the wires just go in there, so it's as clean as that I could come up to use it, and we also can come out with other things in the future. So this was a pretty good weekend couple weekend project, messing around, getting everything set up for this. So we're still messing around with it, seeing what the ranges are, using the radios. We have some of the radios from Evan over at Radio Made Easy. So if you guys want antennas like that, higher quality radios, or even the basic Baofangs, he can do the programming and the setup and everything with those. So check out Evan at Radio Made Easy. He can get you guys squared away, and it'll really help your comms game locally with your friends, family, and other things like that. He does classes as well. So if you're unfamiliar with it completely, he can get you all squared away there. So now we're going to go over by the firewood and kind of show you where we are with this year's firewood. All right, the last thing we got going on is, just like every other year, we have our firewood. So we're doing pretty good in our accumulation here, what we have stacked up, but not great considering how many rounds we got left out here to split. So this year was the first year that I ended up having an issue with the boiler. It had a leak. I had to bring it up and get it patched up. Everything was fine there. The lady that I deal with, she was great. She actually had another boiler that was a little bit bigger that I ended up buying, so I have a new boiler, well, a new used boiler, plus my one that I had was fixed up. So luckily, with me getting the propane tank set already, that we had that hooked up with our furnace, so the house has heat, which was one of the main things that I was lacking last year. So we did luck out that we had that installed in time, so the house has heat and everything, and we're going to be getting the boiler set in place. So one thing to consider, if you guys are running outdoor boilers, man, they are just really heavy. So the biggest issue I have now why it's not set is I'm waiting for the equipment to come set it in. The new boiler almost weighs 2,000 pounds. So like the tractor that I have, there is just no possible way that that size tractor can lift that boiler up and set it back in place. It does not have the lift capacity. It has a lift hook on the top, so the loader has to be above it and not underneath it. So that's another thing to consider. You have to have a considerable size piece of equipment to drop that in place, which is maybe a downside on having it set up the way that I do. If I had it open with more room to maneuver, the lady could have backed it in place and kind of, she has a special trailer to drop it in. So something to consider on setting up like this. So that's one thing that I learned here. But we're gonna get that set up hopefully in the next couple days. The loader that I'm gonna use should be out of the shop, which is just down the road. And we'll get that set back in place, hook up the lines, and be back and rolling. So we're gonna show you, I just finished up this morning cutting up the wood, so I'm well behind on what my goal was this year on getting the wood in the shed. But it just felt like there was a million things hitting me this year, you know, things with the kids and excuses. But I finally got it done and all the wood is cut. So I still have to split it. Here's all those ends that I was talking about. We're gonna split these down, use those IBC totes, just like the other one is here. Throw them all in there, then move them around with the tractor. It's just a nice way to organize it. So we'll get all this stuff split up. I really was happy with the wood that I got this year. There's a good mix of hardwoods, high quality stuff. So we're gonna get this all split up, finish stacking this out. And because we're running kind of late in the season, we should really be looking good for next year on having some wood left over. So I'll still buy another semi-load, but we're really gonna be stacked up. So there's some of the projects we've been working on, some of the things that have been going on. So we're gonna put a couple more videos up for you guys and try to show you what's going on throughout the winter here. So if you guys like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one.